What if I told you the Bible's been warning us about a coming corruption of humanity, one that blurs the line between man, machine, and beast? A deception so old it began in the garden, but so advanced it now dresses itself as science. From Genesis to Revelation, Scripture reveals a chilling story of corrupted seed, hybrid flesh, and mankind being told we can become gods. And the frightening part is, it's happening again right now. In Genesis 3:15, right after the fall, God told the serpent, "I will put enmity between your seed and her seed." That one word, seed, sets the stage for the rest of human history. It tells us that the serpent has a bloodline, corrupted seed that will constantly be at war against the pure line that leads to the Messiah. This isn't just a metaphor. It's a genetic conflict between what God created and what Satan wants to twist. That conflict explodes in Genesis 6:1-4, where the sons of God came down and took the daughters of men. Their offspring were the Nephilim, the giants, a hybrid race born of heaven and earth. It was a unholy corruption, so severe that it infected all flesh, and the flood came as judgment to wipe the slate clean. God's creation was being genetically rewritten, and he acted to preserve his plan. But it didn't stop with the flood. In Genesis 10:8-9, we're told Nimrod began to be a mighty one in the earth. That phrase, began to be, doesn't mean he was born that way. It implies transformation, likely that through ritual or some dark magic or empowerment of some kind. He became something other than what he was. We did a video on that a couple videos back, so be sure to check that out. He turned himself into a Gabor, a mighty one, the very word used for the corrupted hybrids before the flood. Then in Numbers 13:32-33, when the spies returned from Canaan, they reported that the land devours its inhabitants, and that they saw the Nephilim there. Somehow the corruption reemerged, and Deuteronomy adds more names: the Emim, the Anakim, the Raphaim, even Og, king of Bashan, a literal giant whose iron bed was nearly 14 feet long and 6 feet wide. These weren't just tall people. They were remnants of the corrupted bloodline. When God scattered the nations at Babel, Deuteronomy 32:8 says he divided mankind according to the number of his sons. That means the nations were placed under divine rulers, 70 of them. And many of those rulers were fallen beings who continued their manipulation of humanity. Pagan gods and hybrid kings rose across the world, just as archaeology confirms, at a certain time in the past. And God repeatedly warned Israel not to mix. Leviticus 19:19 commands, "You shall not let your cattle breed with a different kind. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seed." Later in Leviticus 20:15-16, he forbids unions between man and beast. These weren't arbitrary laws. They were protective safeguards against the same corruption that had already threatened the human race once. The New Testament confirms this. Jude 6-7 tells us the angels who left their proper dwelling, they didn't get cast out, they left, they chose to, are now chained in darkness, just like those who gave themselves over to strange flesh. Peter echoes it in 2 Peter 2:4-5, reminding us that God judged those angels in the days of Noah. Both apostles directly connect the angelic rebellion to hybrid corruption. And then there's Daniel 2:43, one of the clearest prophecies of our future. The vision of the statue ends with iron mixed with clay, and Daniel says they will mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another. Something non-human mingling with human genetics in the last kingdom before Christ returns. This is genetic manipulation spelled out in prophecy. And notice this. In Daniel, clay symbolized the Assyrian Empire. That means in the last days, the Assyrian power will rise again, just as the prophets said when they called the Antichrist of the end times the Assyrian multiple times. And right now, the man leading this charge is Yuval Noah Harari. And he isn't shy about telling the world what he thinks about God, or us, that humans are hackable animals. He's declared that free will is over. He's mocked Scripture, saying the Bible is just fake news and that we don't need a God above the clouds. We have technology and science. He has blasphemed Christ's resurrection by saying we can now create digital resurrections. And instead, salvation doesn't come from Jesus, but from upgrading ourselves into so-called gods. He's even admitted that the elites of the world will soon control humanity by rewriting what it means to be human. Think about that. You can find him saying these things on YouTube. It's ridiculous. The exact same lie the serpent told Eve in the garden, as a matter of fact. You shall be like God, is being shouted today on the global stage by the very voices driving biotechnology, transhumanism, and artificial intelligence. It's not just arrogance, it's prophecy unfolding. Finally, the book of Revelation shows us the end result. In chapter 9, the locusts that rise from the abyss are insanely grotesque hybrids, shaped like horses, with human faces, women's hair, lion's teeth, and scorpion tails. In chapter 13, the beast himself has features of a leopard, bear, and lion, a composite creature empowered by the dragon. And in Revelation 18:23, Babylon deceives the world through sorceries, and the Greek word here is pharmakia, which points to drugs, potions, and possibly even biotechnology of some kind. The corruption of flesh goes global in the end. From Genesis to Revelation, the Bible tells a consistent story. The serpent's seed is always trying to corrupt God's creation. In the beginning, it was the Nephilim. In the wilderness, it was the giants. And in the end, it will be a kingdom that literally mixes with the seed of men. How? We don't physically know that yet. But what the Bible does warn us about thousands of years ago is exactly what science is trying to do to us today. To blend man with machine, man with beast, man with something other. And the voices telling us we will be like gods are simply repeating the same old lie. If this opened your eyes, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss more. And drop a comment with your thoughts. Share this with someone who needs to hear the truth before it's too late. God bless y'all and your families, and God bless these United States. Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Maranatha.